How many animals do you think drink blood to survive? 2. Maybe 3. The real answer will surprise you. One of them looks exactly like an innocent bird. One of them shares blood with its friends, like humans share food. One has been alive for 300 million years, completely unchanged since before the dinosaurs. And at least one of them has already fed on you, without you ever knowing. And every single one of them is more disturbing than the last. The first thing most people think of when they hear the word vampire is a bat. And they are not wrong. Vampire bats are real. There are 3 species of vampire bat in the world. All 3 live in Central and South America. The most well-known is the common vampire bat, known scientifically as Desmodus rotundus. It is a small animal. An adult common vampire bat weighs roughly 1 ounce and has a wingspan of about 7 inches. It looks nothing like the massive winged monsters in horror films. It is small, brown, and surprisingly fast on the ground. Most bats are clumsy when not flying. The common vampire bat can run, hop, and even sprint on all 4 limbs at impressive speed. This matters because it approaches its prey on foot, creeping silently across the ground toward sleeping animals in the dark. The vampire bat does not bite through thick skin like a predator attacking prey. Instead, it uses its razor-sharp upper incisor teeth to make a shallow cut in an area where blood flows close to the surface. The nose, the ear, and the skin between the toes are common feeding sites. The cut is so shallow and so precise that the animal being fed on rarely wakes up. The bat then laps up the blood with its tongue. It does not suck blood, it laps it, like a cat drinking water. The saliva of the vampire bat contains a compound called draculin, a natural anticoagulant that prevents the blood from clotting while the bat feeds. Scientists have studied draculin carefully. A modified version of this compound is now used in human medicine to treat stroke patients by dissolving dangerous blood clots in the brain. The vampire bat's saliva is saving human lives. Vampire bats have one of the most remarkable social systems in the entire animal kingdom. They share blood. If a bat returns to the roost after a failed night of hunting, a well-fed roost mate will regurgitate a small amount of consumed blood and share it with the hungry bat. This behavior is called reciprocal altruism. The well-fed bat shares because it remembers receiving help in the past and expects to need help in the future. Bats that refuse to share are remembered and excluded from future sharing. The colony maintains a social record of generosity and selfishness. It is one of the most sophisticated social behaviors observed in any animal outside of primates. The second vampire animal is far smaller and far more deadly. The mosquito. Mosquitoes are the deadliest animals on Earth, measured by the number of human deaths they cause every year. Only female mosquitoes feed on blood. Males feed entirely on flower nectar. The female needs blood not for energy but for protein. She requires the protein in blood to develop her eggs. After taking a blood meal, she will lay hundreds of eggs in standing water. The blood she consumed powers the next generation of mosquitoes. Her own daily energy comes from plant nectar, just like the male. The mosquito's feeding system is a masterpiece of biological engineering. Her mouthpart is called a proboscis. It looks like a single needle, but is actually 6 separate biological tools bundled together. 2 of these tools saw through skin. 2 hold the wound open. 1 injects saliva containing anticoagulants and anesthetic compounds, so the host feels almost nothing. 1 draws blood upward. The entire process takes less than 2 minutes. During that time, if the mosquito is carrying a pathogen, she injects it along with her saliva. Malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, Zika virus, and West Nile virus are all transmitted this way. More than 1 million people die every year from mosquito-transmitted diseases. No other animal comes close to that death toll. The third vampire animal is older than the dinosaurs. The sea lamprey is one of the most ancient vertebrates alive today. It belongs to a group of jawless fish called Petromyzontida that appeared in the fossil record over 360 million years ago. The sea lamprey has no jaw. Instead, it has a round suction cup mouth, lined with concentric rings of sharp curved teeth pointing inward. It attaches to the side of a fish, rasps through the scales and skin with its teeth, and feeds on the blood and body fluids of the host for weeks or even months at a time. The host fish often survives the initial attachment, but dies later from infection or blood loss. Sea lampreys can travel enormous distances attached to their hosts, essentially hitchhiking through the ocean while feeding continuously. Sea lampreys became infamous in the Great Lakes of North America after they invaded through man-made shipping canals in the early 20th century. With no natural predators in the Great Lakes, their population exploded. They devastated native fish populations, nearly wiping out the lake trout industry within decades. Controlling sea lamprey populations in the Great Lakes remains an active and expensive conservation challenge to this day. A creature that survived 360 million years of natural history became one of the most damaging invasive species in North American freshwater ecosystems within just a few decades of human habitat modification. The fourth vampire animal is tiny enough to be overlooked on a blade of grass: the tick. Ticks are not insects, they are arachnids, more closely related to spiders and scorpions than to flies or mosquitoes. There are approximately 900 species of tick in the world. All of them feed on blood at some stage of their life cycle. A tick feeds by inserting a specialized mouthpart called a hypostome into the skin of its host. The hypostome is covered in backward-pointing barbs that anchor it firmly in place like a harpoon. The tick then feeds slowly, sometimes remaining attached to a single host for several days. During feeding, it can expand to many times its original body size as its abdomen fills with blood. Like mosquitoes, ticks are dangerous, not primarily because of the blood they consume, but because of the pathogens they transmit. Lyme disease is caused by a bacterium transmitted by the bite of infected black-legged ticks. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, tick-borne encephalitis, and several other serious diseases are also transmitted through tick bites. Ticks are the second most significant vector of human disease after mosquitoes. Their ability to remain attached and feeding for days gives them a long window to transmit pathogens into the bloodstream of their host. The fifth vampire animal challenges our assumption that only small creatures feed on blood. The oxpecker bird of sub-Saharan Africa feeds almost entirely on blood and parasites taken from the bodies of large mammals, including buffalo, rhinoceros, elephants, and giraffes. For a long time, scientists believed oxpeckers were entirely beneficial to their hosts, eating ticks and other parasites from the skin. The relationship was thought to be mutualistic, meaning both animals benefited. But research conducted in the late 1990s revealed a more complicated picture. Oxpeckers do eat parasites, but they also deliberately keep wounds open on their hosts and feed on the blood that flows from them. They have been observed enlarging small wounds and feeding on fresh blood for extended periods. They are not purely helpful cleaners. They are partial parasites maintaining their own blood supply on the bodies of animals that tolerate them. The sixth vampire animal is perhaps the most surprising of all. The vampire finch of the Galapagos Islands is a small bird that feeds primarily on seeds and insects like most finches. But on certain islands in the Galapagos archipelago, where fresh water and food sources are scarce, the vampire finch has developed a remarkable supplementary feeding behavior. It pecks at the base of the wing feathers of nesting seabirds, particularly the Nazca booby and the blue-footed booby, and drinks the blood that flows from the small wounds it creates. The seabirds generally tolerate this behavior, possibly because they are too large for the tiny finch to seriously harm, or because removing the finch requires more energy than tolerating it. This behavior is thought to have developed originally from the finch's habit of pecking at parasites on the skin of larger birds. At some point, a finch discovered that blood flowed when it pecked in the right place, and the behavior spread through the population. It is a perfect example of how hematophagy can evolve gradually from an existing behavior when environmental pressure makes it necessary. All of these animals share one remarkable characteristic. None of them chose to drink blood. Blood feeding did not appear suddenly in any of these species. It evolved slowly over millions of years through small incremental steps. Each step offered a slight survival advantage: better access to protein, better survival during food scarcity, better reproductive output. Natural selection rewarded each small step toward hematophagy until the behavior became fixed in the species. Blood is available almost everywhere on Earth where warm-blooded animals live. It is abundant. It is nutritious. It does not run away by itself. For any animal small enough to feed without triggering a fatal defensive response from its host, blood represents an almost perfect food source. The animals on this list discovered that truth independently across millions of years of separate evolutionary history. The vampire bat, and the lamprey, and the mosquito, and the tick, and the oxpecker, and the finch share no recent common ancestor. They arrived at the same dietary solution from completely different starting points. This is called convergent evolution, and it tells us something important. When a food source is this good, life will find a way to reach it, no matter how protected it is, no matter how many layers of skin and fur and scale and feather stand between a hungry animal and the blood flowing beneath. Life finds a way in.